we turn to Susie for wonderful origins of words.
Thank you. Well, we turn to Christian Boston from Tadworth in Surrey, who emailed us and said that he's been reading Niall Ferguson's book, The Ascent of Money, and it mentions the beginnings of the first ghetto in Venice, and he's asked me to explain a little bit more. It goes back, unfortunately, to the persecution of the Jews, which we're all too familiar with, and which was far too common throughout Europe from the 12th century onwards, probably before. And at its heart lay the idea that the Jewish faith rejected Christ, etc. And awful, awful things have occurred throughout history. So in 1290, Edward I passed the Edict of Expulsion, which essentially banished all Jews from England. And that lasted throughout the Middle Ages until Oliver Cromwell permitted them to come back in 1655, which is extraordinary. And similar persecution took place all across Europe, and the Jewish people were constantly in migration, but also they were segregated, sometimes quite terribly. And in 1516, an enclave for the segregation of Jews was established, and this was in central Venice, and this was in the district of Cannaregio. Cannaregio at that time housed a ghetto, G-E-T-T-O, which in Italian can mean either foundry, or it can be a shortening of Borghetto, which means a small suburb. But it became the designated Jewish quarters from the 16th to the 19th century. And it was here that the word acquired a whole new meaning, because essentially, again, there was a decree passed by the Venetian authorities that said that Jewish lenders and doctors and clothing merchants, they were allowed to go out sometimes and attend their commercial needs, if you like, by day, but at night, and particularly on Christian holidays, they were locked into this gated island of the Ghetto Nuovo, the new foundry. And these ghettos weren't allowed to spread, so they basically built upwards, so the conditions were awful, cramped, etc. And after 1516, other ghettos started to be set up. So there was one in Rome, for example, which was established as a result of a papal bull. And once again, gates were set up and walls around these gates, and the Jewish people were made to pay for the walls, which may sound quite familiar in modern times. But whether ghetto meant little foundry or little suburb, it was thanks to Venice that we owe, if you like, the word ghetto today, and all the miserable aspects still linger on, really, attached to the word.
Absolutely. Very good.